My talk today is the importance of doing nothing. And I did think it was a little bit of a paradox to talk about that. But here I am. I'm to begin with a quote by Angeles Arian. There's a lot we can do in the fast lane. We can grow and we can expand, but we cannot deepen and we cannot integrate our experiences unless we slow down. In this series that's called It's About Time, Reclaiming Sanity, Serenity, and Spirit in a Fast-Moving World, we're examining and encouraging us in taking time to value slowing down for our health, for our overall well-being, our capacity for spiritual connection to ourselves and to one another, as well as opening up greater access to our intuition and our creativity. We live in a time of valued, enhanced productivity and high-speed, constant connectivity. Constant. And the boundary, if there is one, between work and personal life is now quite nebulous. For me, the high-speed connectivity in the digital age, of course, is new, but the emphasis on productivity above presence is not new. I think, it's part of our culture. It was part of our family values for me. Growing up, working and being productive was, in fact, the highest value of my family. Not only did it mean survival for them, but it was also the ticket to a more materially prosperous life and the opportunities that came along with that. My parents and my grandparents all labored long hours at hard jobs. My father worked nights in an iron foundry. My mother worked days as a key punch operator. That was prior to computers. My grandmother and her brothers worked in the canneries in Oakland, where I was born. The family motto truly was, don't just sit there, do something. So obviously, I grew up to be a person extremely interested in sitting and doing nothing. But it took a while to fully understand and to appreciate that. I started working when I was 14, and at 75, I haven't stopped. Like others in my family, I'm really grateful for the opportunities I've had, the work I've been privileged to do, and everything I have learned along the way. Along the way, I learned about the dynamic balance of being and doing. I discovered that there's a loss of soul connection when life is out of balance, when we become too consumed with having and doing more and more. I learned that beyond achievement and productivity, the connection to soul presence is what makes life truly worthwhile. Here's the thing, it's neither doing nor not doing that is essential. It's spiritual awareness that is essential, and that's what brings that life-enhancing presence to times of work and times of rest. Soul awareness, we're spiritually awake, spiritually aware, has the capacity to bring its light to the body and the mind, but also to abide in its essence as spirit. Soul awareness moves in both directions. When we make space for that by letting the mind grow calm and freeing it from the 10,000 things that we are doing, soul awareness expands into spirit. into our essential God nature, and we recognize that as peace. We know that. We feel at home in the one. The philosopher Aldous Huxley explains it this way in his book, The Perennial Philosophy. The body is always in time. The spirit is timeless, and the psyche, or the soul, is an amphibious creature compelled by the laws of our being to associate itself to some extent with its body, but capable, if it so desires, of experiencing and being identified with its spirit, and through its spirit with the divine ground, meaning God or ultimate reality. So you probably have guessed, those of you who know me, that I was so excited to find this metaphor of the soul being like an amphibious creature. That's just the best, to think of the soul like a creature that can live both on land and in water and actually needs both. So it is that we're capable of living in the land of the material world, of all that doing and getting, with its work and its goals and its metrics. And we can also turn our soul awareness to the source, to that ocean of being. And we can dive in and be renewed. We need both. We need both, and it's a great mistake for us to mistake the priority and purpose of one for the other, or to imagine that we can get along without both. We know about doing and what doing can bring. So today I want to raise up and defend the art of doing nothing as one of the ways that we free the body and the mind. So first, a clarification. Sitting on the couch, watching TV, is not doing nothing, even though others may accuse us of that. Sitting on the couch, watching TV is sitting on the couch, watching TV. It may be relaxing and even satisfying, but it is still doing something. So what does intentionally doing nothing look like? The intention to have unstructured time is supported by setting boundaries and limits around our activity. This requires paying attention to how we tend to keep busy, including awareness of both the active and passive forms of engagement. Notice the myriad avenues of active input that we engage in. Whether it's talking on the phone, watching TV, scrolling on our phone, or planning what we're going to do next after we do nothing. No. So we have to be willing to turn all of that off for a designated period. So you're beginning to see how this is a discipline, right? Ideally, if possible, go outside. Not right now, but when you're making this planned time of doing nothing, go outside. Nature is one of the best ways to rest and renew. And if you go for a walk, walk consciously but aimlessly. Free yourself from the presence of a schedule or plan or destination. Avoid making your walk into exercise and trying to get credit for it by counting your steps or combining it with some kind of chore like going somewhere. Let yourself ramble and your thoughts have freedom to just flow by. Going for a walk or sitting outdoors watching the clouds or listening to the birds is ideal. If that's not possible, of course, be inside. Sit in a chair and relax. Sometimes, I close the door of my office in the middle of the day and I lay down on the floor in a modified version of Savasana, the corpse pose. And I'm not napping, and I'm not really practicing Hatha yoga per se, but I'm just stretching out for a while, just doing nothing. I'm not listening to music. I'm not trying to solve any problems in my mind. I notice my breath. I let my body be supported by the floor, and I allow my thoughts to just arise and pass away. Once you begin to have periods of intentionally doing nothing, you will discover renewed energy and mental clarity. It's a miraculous thing to do for yourself. Your meditation will start to have a new vitality and sweetness. Concentration will be easier. Intuition will awaken into that space. And you'll find that your awareness can be lifted into higher states of consciousness. So this seemingly simple practice of intentionally doing nothing, I want to say, is so important, and it can also support a radical shift into spiritual surrender. Why? Because we think we have to be doing all the time. We have a really hard time extricating ourselves from that, whether it's thinking doing or active doing. Intentionally doing nothing requires us to let go of the ego's drive to constantly engage in activity and fantasize about controlling outcomes. See, sometimes we are operating with the wrong premise, meaning an ego-driven premise that we're in control of it all, and we can't stop for a minute. Sometimes we're operating with that premise, thinking that we know how life works, but we're wrong. We're not seeing the big pictures. So the Sufis tell a marvelous story about Mullah Nasruddin that illustrates this error. So one day, Mullah notices that his favorite clock has stopped working. When he takes the clock in for repair, the clockmaker opens the back of the clock, turns it over, and a dead fly falls out. And Mullah exclaims, "Oh, so that's what happened. The little guy who operated it has died." So when we let go of the misunderstanding that we alone are the operators in charge of life, that we must continually plan, anticipate, act, scheme, and do, we open a space for divine grace, for divine guidance to come and support us. Rumi wrote, "Remember, when you are thirsty, the water is also seeking you." So open your heart, open your mind to that universal potential of that connectivity of all of life. Remember, when you are thirsty, the water is also seeking you. Each one of us is divinely connected. Not one of us is here on our own. Not one of us. Life itself is always coming to meet us with love, with support, with blessing, with healing, with whatever is needed, if only we can make space for that meeting to occur. More from Rumi, who wrote, "If I run around in search of my daily portion, the effort exhausts and distresses me." Can you relate? If I run around in search of my daily portion, the effort exhausts and distresses me. If I am patient and stay quietly in my own place, it will come to me without pain and anguish. For my daily portion is also seeking and pulling me. God is our life. That's the way it is. Sometimes, if we can just slow down, just stop for a while, we remember who we are as spiritual being. That God is our life, and that we're living in a divinely supportive universe. And as my teacher said, we can learn to cooperate with it. Here's the key. It's all God. Nothing is outside of that omnipresence. It's all God in motion and in stillness. It's all God. There is the world of time and change where we act, react, engage, used our wisdom-guided will to participate, and within it all there is a perfect, infinite stillness where time and change are not found. A perfect, infinite stillness of spirit where time and change are not found. So I'm going to close with a reading from the Chandogya Upanishad. There is a bridge between time and eternity. And this bridge is Atman, or the soul, the spirit of all. There's a bridge between time and eternity. And basically it's saying, this bridge is you. You, your own self, are the bridge between time and eternity, your own soul, your own essence. There is a spirit which is pure and which is beyond old age and death, and beyond hunger and thirst and sorrow, beyond doing and not doing. This is Atman, the soul, the spirit in humanity. It is this spirit that we must find and know. Every person must find their own soul. One who has found and knows their soul has found all the worlds, has achieved all their desires. And in a world of change, a satisfied heart does not change. Om.